Hello friends and loved ones, and welcome back to another entry of Myths for Megami Tensei, where I look at legends, folklore, and whatever other stuff I think would be awesome to see as demons in the franchise one day. Of course, one of the biggest problems with this premise is that you're all stuck with figures that I think would be good picks, and that usually means a lot of birds, sea creatures, and hot babes, sometimes mixed together. Well, after the most recent video, I got a lot of good suggestions from you all, so I think it's time for another round of demons that you'd like to see in Megami Tensei. That I chose, so obviously there's still some bias. As always, the main rule is only one figure per any one branch of mythology, so let's just go ahead and get started with longtime viewers knowing exactly what's about to happen. In Hawaiian folklore, the Kaupe is a vengeful spirit that was one of the Olohe, or dogmen. His half-canine form gave him supernatural strength and allowed him to take over as a ruling chief and even engage in cannibalism. After kidnapping the son of a high chief on Maui, Kaupe fled back to Oahu. The chief learned an incantation from a kahuna to help strip Kaupe of his power and lull him to sleep. After a fearsome battle, the chief and his son killed Kaupe by dropping a rock on him. It's believed that this spirit still haunts around Lihue, which, again, is really close to where I grew up, and he calls out to wandering strangers at night, disguising his voice as an old man or a child in need before ambushing and devouring them. Look, I'm always just down for more Polynesian myths in the franchise, so if you want to be featured in one of these videos, this is a pretty nice way to get on my good side. The Megami Tensei franchise has no shortage of chimeric creatures, from the Japanese Nue to the, well, Chimera, but one that a few of you suggested to me was the Kotobuki, a Japanese yokai made up of the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac. If you'll allow me to just quote straight from the Wikipedia page here, the Kotobuki sports, yes, that was their word of choice, the head of a rat, the ears of a rabbit, the horns of an ox, the comb of a rooster, the beard of a goat, the neck of a dragon, the mane of a horse, the shoulders of a tiger, the arms of a monkey, the back of a boar, the hind legs of a dog, and the tail of a snake. Personally, I feel like some of those animals definitely got shafted representation-wise with this thing. Like, if I were a goat, I'd be pissed. It's certainly a unique enough creature and would fit in just fine with other similar beings in the franchise, but I'll admit the more I think about this thing, the more follow-up questions I have. Like, what type of dog are those hind legs? Because Chihuahua legs would be hilarious. Is there a version of the Kotobuki with cat ears to account for the regions where the cat replaces the rabbit? Where on a snake does the tail start? And does having the neck of a dragon mean it can breathe fire, or does it lack the necessary internal organs in the torso to get that stuff going? Maybe we should just move on. I have very mixed feelings about having Saci from Brazilian folklore as a Megami Tensei demon. This one-legged trickster can control the wind and enjoys playing pranks that seem to range from minor household annoyances like breaking eggs and spoiling milk to just straight up poisoning or killing people who disrespect him. There's definitely a range of potential outcomes there. He typically wears a magical red hat, and in some versions it smells awful but allows him to teleport or turn invisible, except for the hat, and you can get on his good side by offering him tobacco for his pipe or giving him knotted rope to untangle, so maybe he can help me with my Christmas lights this year. Honestly, I love this dude. He's got a fun backstory, loads of personality, and would be a fantastic demon in the franchise. So, why do I have mixed feelings? Well, you know how sometimes I like to cover indie games inspired by Megami Tensei? One of those games, Exodus Checkmate by Ninja Delua, a Persona-inspired DRPG, already has Saci, and he's honestly perfect, so sorry Doi, you've got some big shoes to fill if you're going to want to tackle this one. Since I'm releasing this video around the holidays, let's take a look at a Welsh tradition some of y'all suggested called the Mari Lwyd. I actually did know a little bit about this tradition before, but I'll admit I hadn't really considered it as a Megaten demon, which is crazy because this thing could totally work. So, the Mari Lwyd involves a man carrying a Christmassy horse skull on the end of a stick, with ornament eyes and a flowing white sheet or dress to conceal him. She, yes, the horse skull is a woman, I guess, travels with a small party of men, and they roam the nearby town, knocking on doors, demanding entry, and wassail, a sort of spiced ale or cider. The homeowners would offer excuses why they can't let these people inside, and the Mari Lwyd's party would sing songs to dispute the excuse. I'm definitely oversimplifying here, but it's basically just like drunk horse skull Christmas rap battling. Count me in, fetch me a glass of wassail, and we can watch the Jim Carrey Grinch on Blu-ray when we get home, okay? I'm always in favor of trying to add more Lovecraftian figures into the Megami Tensei mix. They were definitely a lot bigger in the early titles, and we got a few in the Persona 5 mythos. One that was recently brought up to me was the color out of space. I'll admit that at first glance, rainbow goop coming out of a space rock doesn't really sound like the most exciting premise for a demon, but when you think of it as a riot of luminescence amorphousness, that alien and undimensioned rainbow of cryptic poison from the well, seething, feeling, lapping, reaching, scintillating, straining, and maligning bubbling in its cosmic and unrecognizable chromaticism, yeah, that sounds a lot more awesome, and I'm down for that. Weirdly enough, I'm almost just imagining this thing as one of the treasure demons from Persona 5, but with a meteor and a bit more color spread throughout. Or, alternative pitch, if Akabaka can redesign this cacophony of cosmic color into one of the cutest Lovecraftian waifus I ever did see in the upcoming Sucker for Love Crush Landing, I wouldn't exactly be mad with Doi taking a similar approach. And hey, speaking of waifus, let's take a moment to talk about FiGGYZ. They recently sent me their selection of Catherine models, so you've got Vincent, and you can pick your favorite, like Catherine, or Catherine. They've also included the latest wave of Persona 3 Reload characters, which includes Fuka, Mitsuru, and Akihiko. FiGGYZ are sturdy yet flexible, and you can attach these magnetic collectibles to these sweet double-sided metal plates, which come with their own standee or strips to allow you to place them on walls or any surface you like. You can scan the QR code to learn unique things about your FiGGYZ unit and earn points in the app for cool rewards. You can get FiGGYZ from your favorite Atlus franchises like Metaphor and SMT, or branch out and grab stuff from Skies of Arcadia, Silent Hill, or Street Fighter. Or hey, speaking of waifus, grab yourself a top tier one like Dark Magician Girl from Yu-Gi-Oh!, Hot Grunty from Banjo-Kazooie, and Who's That I Spy on the Horizon. When you order 3 FiGGYZ, you get an automatic 5% off, but when you spend $50 or more and use my coupon code STRAIN at checkout or with the link in the description, you get an additional 5% off. So grab some sweet collectibles of your favorite franchises, save some money, and help the channel out. It's a win-win for everybody. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the video. Okay, full disclosure, I have a very nerdy and specific reason for picking this next one that basically applies to me and like 8 other people. And truthfully, it's not even one I necessarily would want to see as a demon. Norea is a figure in Gnostic mythology. She's actually got a bit of a unique connection to Sophia, so she could fit as an NPC in the SMT5 mythos specifically, but that's not what I was leaning toward. See, Norea is the daughter of Adam and Eve and the sister of Seth, which means she's also the sister of Cain and Abel. And as I was reading more and more about this figure, I basically realized something. Given her incredible connection to Seth, Norea probably would have been the persona of Jun Kanzato's deceased twin sister Yuki had she awoken to a persona of her own in the anime Persona Trinity Soul. And like, dang, I almost wish we got a Fess or Royal version of Trinity Soul where we got to see that. I guess if their parents had been Persona users, they might have just straight up had Adam and Eve. It's interesting to think about. Oh, right, Norea. Apparently she set fire to Noah's Ark. That's pretty sweet. Some of the comments I get go into a lot of detail to try and sell me on a story, and I want to be clear, I always appreciate that. However, some just say, the crocodile lady with butterfly wings from Spanish folklore, and yeah, sure, Cocollona, I'm in. The story I pieced together is that there was a young nun who pointed out, hey, maybe some stuff under God does suck. So her fellow nuns imprisoned her in the basement near Onya River. Years in the damp, dark dampness caused her to grow scales and turn into a crocodile, but her faith and purity allowed her to also grow butterfly wings. Then she died. But it's believed that on full moon nights, those with pure souls can see the, let me just double check my notes here, ghost of this crocodile nun with butterfly wings swimming down the river. I'm in. I want this. I often worry about mispronouncing things when I do these videos. I always make an effort to say stuff correctly, but sometimes when I sit down to record, it still just doesn't come out of my pork trap the way it's supposed to. I say this because the Kăk-whăn û-ghăt kǐg-û-lu, I'm not even going to pretend to know if that's even a little bit close, is a great story and myth from Inuit legend, particularly Yupik lore, but not one that I'm going to try to say again. You know how a selkie appears as a seal that can turn into a beautiful woman when it's on land? Well, the Kăk-whăn, this thing, appears as a killer whale that can turn into a wolf on land. The idea of a mythical creature that can swap between these powerful apex predators on land and sea is cool and terrifying enough on its own, but some tales point out that it can also appear as a blend of both. A terrifying orca with wolf legs and jet black fur and sleeky skin, come on, that's just awesome. Oh, and if you're worried about the name, it's all good. See, some dude named Edward Nelson wrote about Inuit lore, and he also agreed the name was too hard, so he simplified it as û-ghăt, which is basically just the word for orca and doesn't actually refer to this specific creature. But that's what caught on. Hey, it may be wrong, but it's easier. And isn't that the American way? While it doesn't happen too often in Megami Tensei, there is something I find fascinating about having demons based on historical or mythological objects rather than figures. From Aigis' Palladion to the Wicker Man, there's just something I really like about seeing the physical elements of humanity's efforts given demonic life in the franchise. And that's why I loved learning about the Shigir Idol. This wooden carving was discovered in a bog in the Russian mountains and is believed to be the oldest wooden statue ever. This thing is around 12,000 years old, meaning it's older than the Egyptian pyramids and even Stonehenge. It's pretty dang tall too, currently standing over 9 feet tall, but since it was found in pieces, and some pieces were lost to time or broke down, some guess it was originally over 16 feet. The Shigir Idol has a human-like face with a long rectangular body covered in intricate geometric carvings. I imagine as a demon it would be a lanky, stoic, imposing figure with very little in the way of animation, almost like Shiki-Oji. Like, full disclosure, I'd never heard of this thing before it was suggested to me, and now I am absolutely invested. That is why I love doing these specific videos. And lastly, I'm gonna end things off with another European holiday tradition. It turns out that Italy has their own Santa Claus witch called Befana. She appears as an ugly old crone and flies around on her broomstick on Epiphany Eve, which to me just sounds like a sexy nightclub, but apparently it's just January 5th. And there's just something I find so charming and hilarious about the contradictory elements behind her. Like, she does do the whole Santa thing. She delivers candy and small toys to good children and gives coal to the bad ones. But apparently, most kids are just total jerks to her and mock her relentlessly. There are even songs about how old and tired she looks. She has her own feasts and celebrations, and apparently was even briefly banned in Italy in the late 1970s. Similar to the Mari Lwyd earlier in this video, I just enjoy the juxtaposition of this somewhat sinister-looking old lady handing out sweets and spreading holiday cheer. It's a nice tradition, and she would make for a fun demon in the franchise. So there you have it, 10 more myths and legends that you all told me you wanted to see appear as demons in the Megami Tensei franchise. If you were one of the people to suggest a demon I talked about today, remember to leave a comment saying so and cement your bragging rights early in the case they ever do get added. Hope you enjoyed this list, and feel free to suggest more figures you'd love to see. People seem to enjoy these videos, and I have a blast making them, so they're likely to happen. Thanks for watching, happy holidays to all of you out there, and until next time, take care.